responsibility to share knowledge. I would like to get a sense from the audience. I've had an opportunity to talk to some of you individually, but how many of you in your organizations have what you would call a formal KM program at this time? Okay. Are the others, are you just starting out? Or how many of you are just starting? Okay, well that's good, because we have been at this for some time, and we definitely have some things that in our case work for us, and I would really hope that you'd be able to take away some things that can help you. We also knew that there were people who had programs already in place, and even those of you who are just starting, there are things that you're probably doing that we all could benefit from knowing. Today we're going to be doing more of discussion with you than an actual presentation. The Federal Highway Administration and ICF are co-presenting on this today. I'm Debbie Baldwin. I'm the Knowledge Application Team Manager for Federal Highway. My 20 years of experience includes K through 12 teaching computer classes. I worked for a while with the Department of Defense Education Activity and ran a worldwide program for educational technologists around the world in the K through 12 schools for the DoD dependents. And also, I have worked in multimedia and creative projects for clients such as the National Geographic Society. And co-presenting with me today is Corey McConnell, and he brings to the team the latest information on what's happening in the world of knowledge management. He also keeps the focus on the knowledge sharing and not the technology. And he's always looking for ways for improving organizational effectiveness. And we're going to be tag teaming today as we go through, not only between the two of us, but also with you. The goals of the session are to provide you best practices and lessons learned from Federal Highway and our journey through knowledge management. Also to give you an opportunity to share what's worked for you as well. We're going to be covering 3 areas, and they are organizational structure, virtual communities, and connections. And after each one of those, we will be giving an opportunity to open up dialogue with you. Any questions so far? That's the other thing. These sessions are going to be fairly fairly short. But if you have a question that you just can't wait until your turn, please don't hesitate to ask either one of us. I wanted to give you initially some idea about the structure of Federal Highway Administration so that you can keep that in relation to your particular situation. We are an organization, we are under the Department of Transportation, and we're located across the states. The headquarters office is in D.C. We have resource centers, let me back up. First, we have a little tidbit of information that you may not know, is that Federal Highway does not actually build roads, except for a small component of our, not so small, but a component of our organization called Federal Lands. And Federal Lands actually builds roads in conjunction with the U.S. Park Service and the travel agencies on federal land, on federal property. So, and they are located across the states. We also have resource centers located in 5 locations across the United States, as well as a division office, at least one division office in each state. So you can see that we are geographically dispersed. Now, So when we talk about knowledge management, we need to talk about being able for collaboration and knowledge sharing at a distance. And to look at an organizational chart, we didn't print this big enough for you to see because that doesn't tell you where you need to go to obtain the knowledge that you may need to know or the information you need to know. So I'm going to let Corey step in here now and talk about the structure before and after with the knowledge management group.
Sure, and thank you, Debbie. So what Debbie set up there was really the issue the Federal Highway Administration was facing, and everybody to a degree continues to face this. This is very common in a federal agency, but also in any group where somebody says, hey, what's your organization look like? A lot of times they'll show you a slide like this. This doesn't tell you anything, even if you could read the words. As Debbie said, it doesn't show you where the knowledge is held. So not too many years ago, somebody had the idea, hey, we don't have any luck going vertical here, the hierarchy of the traditional organization chart. So let's do something that some of us are pretty familiar with. Let's make it a matrix organization. So what they did was they basically made horizontal organizations on top of this. I'm not going to show what that looks like, but I can show you the before. When it was sort of a hierarchy, you could have all these different people that developed training, people that were actually in the field building a bridge, an administrator running a program related to bridges. But they could be all in different offices, different geographies. So what these horizontal organizations did was they put them together in 17 technical disciplines. And what that was is it gave them a little bit of a lateral movement there. And the other really major reason that we point this out and we talk about it right now, this is a very major initiative. Big support from leadership. So it made getting buy-in for anything related to this initiative a little bit easier. Furthermore, the disciplines weren't just something they put on a slide and sent out. They are formal organizations. They have roles. And so the knowledge application team kind of jumped on board when this was coming together and said, all right, this looks like an ideal opportunity. We were actually creating organizations their entire purpose is to kind of ignore the existing hierarchy and promote collaboration. That's really what the knowledge management game is. At the time, the idea was, well, we have these 17 disciplines, and we'll go ahead and create, 17 websites, typical intranet, we'll update every 6 months or so if we find the time. And we had just found out about this pretty cool thing called SharePoint. So we said, all right, we just found this tool. Not totally sure what all it can do yet, but what we realized was the folks in these organizations, in these disciplines, this is a new thing. If you told somebody, hey, you're in the bridges discipline, they'd go, fantastic. But they don't really, that's not an organization yet. They don't really feel like they're a part of it. What we had a lot of experience doing was virtual communities of practice, creating a sense of identity and community using a virtual platform. People don't have to live next door to each other. They don't have to be in the same office. We had years of experience developing these sort of organizations. Furthermore, the knowledge application team does a lot of web conferencing, distance learning. So we can connect people. We had the background to do that. The other thing we wanted to jump on here is the huge audience. 2/3 of the Federal Highway Administration is in one of these 17 technical disciplines. And there's a number of non-technical ones that are coming up as well. And people are folding together. There's been a lot of evolution of the overall program. But what we did was we were able to create a number of sites, give these people a virtual space to create an identity in. So we use the structure, we use the initiative to sort of launch that concept.
Right, so, and to build on that is that Federal Highway did not at that time have any experience with SharePoint. People did not even know what SharePoint could do. And we had to do a business case and show the advantages of using something other than a static website for this collaboration. And Tori is exactly right in that they did not have a unity. This was 4 separate offices that had always worked in silos. I mean, it's a knowledge management manager's dream to have an agency-wide initiative that has strong support of leadership to have something to launch a major program.
This has been going on for about 3 years, and where we are right now is that the initiative remains in progress, as it should. An initiative like this never really should end. You're creating something kind of new for people. A lot of the disciplines have expressed a great deal of success. I would say one of the biggest success areas is simply that you can't have all these people in disparate walks of life located across the country doing different things, but I think we're at the point where they at least identify themselves as a discipline. They know what that means. There is kind of a sense of identity there. Another quiet outcome of this, of being able to jump on board this kind of structural change, is a built-in taxonomy. If you're looking at knowledge management, somewhere somebody's going to use that frightening word taxonomy, and you're going to think that's the most boring thing anybody could ever say. But at some point, you have to look at all the knowledge out there. You have to categorize it in some way. Knowledge all over the place. If you go to the Federal Highway Administration website, 100 different topics listed. Well, here's 17 categories right away. So right away, it puts us in a very advantageous position because we have a structure that people identify with, that people can cling to, and that we can use for everything else that we're doing. Also, because of the disciplines, there's not really a fight to get people involved with the disciplines. It's a major initiative. People's performance metrics are tied to this. So if you say, hey, SharePoint is neat, and knowledge management is great, people go, that's fantastic. You go, also it's related to disciplines. Okay, now I'm listening. So it's been really good as a catalyzer in that regard.
Yeah, and also the ability, these people are geographically dispersed. And in order to get the silos broken down, they had to have a way of working together. And this was a way that we could accomplish this.
This is what we're going to do after each one of these little sections. And by the way, these 3 sections, structure, virtual communities, and connections, they're not mutually exclusive. They're going to blend together a little bit. But what we want to do is take a break already and to ask the question, does this sound familiar, this sort of organization where it's a hierarchy? Does anybody have a matrix? Is that going on with everybody?
Yes.
Yes.
You want to elaborate a little bit?
Well, we're pretty much in the process of doing everything you just said. We have the hierarchy, and we're trying to gather all that knowledge and put it into a community of practice, and it's interesting. If you were in that squirrel and bull thing this morning, we're doing the bull when we should be doing the squirrel. That's where we're at right now.
Well, actually, this is a big initiative. We are doing little squirrel things in that big initiative to have those quick wins. For example, the disciplines are working on competencies for each of the technical areas, for bridge building, for pavements. And we're working with HR to, how do you manage those competencies? Where do they belong in each discipline? Do they belong in HR? So as a team, we're working with the disciplines in HR. Decision, as it stands right now, is that they belong to HR. And that this is a good place, this community is a good place for them to keep their final copies of the competencies. Yes.
I think that where we're at, we're still in the beginning stages. I think the problem that we're having is that everybody has a job series, but that's not technically their functional role.
Mm-hmm.
So we're trying to find out what the functional roles are within all these different directorates and divisions and branches. And there's a little resistance because, everybody's fit to do things the way they've always done them, and they don't want to change. And if, so we're finding that brick wall we're hitting up against right now. Once we get the functional roles, then we're going to have everybody, if they don't have a desk guide or a study guide that determines the process or shows the process that they're doing, we want them to create workflows.